Let me click the record button. There we go. So I just want to thank you guys for coming and joining us. A lot of you guys are already familiar with Jack and McKenna, and so we're glad that you guys are going to hear a little bit more about what they're doing. I'm not going to spend too much time other than just saying thank you guys and passing the buck on to Jack and McKenna. But if you guys have questions, you can write them down. Jack, we're saving time at the end for you guys to ask questions. Other than that, Jack and McKenna, please feel free to take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Zach. So, ciao and benvenuti. Pretty much everyone here has already heard a lot of this stuff, but you're going to get a little bit of a recap on some of it. And then you'll also hear about what we've been up to and pretty much any other updates that we've learned in the last few months. So this is us. I'm Jack. This is McKenna. Yeah, you pretty much know us, but we've been working on this for almost the whole time we've been married, which is just coming up on 3 years in August. So that's pretty fun. As Zach was saying, if you do have any questions, we'll be taking them at the end, but feel free to type it in the chat in case you don't want to forget, or you can always unmute yourself and interrupt us. We don't mind. So we are working with a missions agency called TEAM, the Evangelical Alliance Mission. When we first started looking at going to Italy and being missionaries there, we were with a church. We had gone on a mission trip, a short-term mission trip with a church in Portland. And we went to a city called Rimini, which is actually only 15 to 30 minutes away from where we will be going with Team. But we tried to join that, the church that was there, and be full-time missionaries with them. And we tried that route for about, I don't know, how long did you say, 6 months? 6 months. And in the end, it didn't really work out. And I think a big reason for that was we didn't have a lot of support from an agency. And so thanks to Zach and a few other people, we heard about Team. And so I actually just one day at work during lunch or something, I sent them an email online and just to kind of see what they were about. And they responded and said they'd love to talk with us. And ever since then, we've really loved our partnership that we've had with Team. So their focus is that they partner with our local church, so Rolling Hills, and they really focus that Rolling Hills is sending us. So we're getting a lot of support from Zach, Dave, and everyone there. And then Team helps us out with a lot of other things, health insurance, logistics, a lot of other support. Team has been around for over 125 years. They have initiatives in over 35 countries. And in Italy, they have 8 or more initiatives, generally all in northern Italy, and most of them are church plants.
So why Italy? Italy has been a love of mine since middle school. I had this teacher in 7th grade who just loved Italy. She would talk about Italy like it was better than Disneyland, and just made me so excited to like learn about European history and all of that. So I had the chance in 8th grade to be able to go to Italy with her and about 30 middle school students and about 8 adults. It was a pretty crazy trip. But I really got the chance to just see Italy and kind of understand some of the culture and the history and the background. And I knew that in college I wanted to study abroad there. And so I spent half of my junior year there, living in Rome and just getting to know more about the culture and the people. And I actually went through a Christian organization, so I got to learn a lot about Catholicism while I was there, the church history, and meet a lot of people and just kind of have hard conversations and learn more about really the like foundation of Italy, which kind of started this question that I've always had is, how can a country that has so much church have so little God? And at the end of my studying abroad semester there, Jack came over and got to spend some time with me there, and I got to show him my Italy and what it looked like. And Jack ended up proposing to me there, which was exciting. And so we kind of both just had this heart for Italy and history and just getting to know more. And as we came back to the States, we continued to kind of just look into Italy and keep up with current events that were there, what was happening. And as Jack mentioned, we got to go on a missions trip for about 2 weeks. We went to Rimini and really got to see more of what it was like to have an evangelical church in Italy, and got to spend some time with some kids there, having some great conversations, learning more. And it just was an amazing, amazing experience that really just kind of turned from a love of Italy and a love of Italian culture to a heart for the Italian people and just wanting them to know Jesus. And then as we continued to kind of look into more of this like calling that we started to feel of God saying, like, if you love Italy and you want to go there, like, you're going to go for me. And the more we kind of looked into it, the more we were like, man, this is a country that is missing the gospel. Like, they are not fully understanding what it is to truly understand the gospel and have a relationship with Jesus. So about 78% of Italy is Catholic. It is engraved in their culture. It is a word that doesn't necessarily mean God or have a relationship with God, but it's just the identity of the Italian people. There was a study that found about a third of those that claimed they were Catholic were actually practicing and going to mass and going to service. And many of those had never even prayed before in their life. They didn't fully understand what it meant to be Catholic. They just thought to be Italian was to be Catholic. They also have a huge problem with unemployment there. There is very little hope for young Italians. Many Italians either go to college in a different country and end up staying in that country, or graduate college in Italy and end up going to other countries to find jobs. There isn't a lot of hope in what it means to be in the Italian economy. There's also been a big problem lately with foreigners coming in, lots of refugees coming in and taking over some of the cities. Italy was one of the last countries to close their borders to some of the refugees. But one of the issues that they are also finding is that foreigners are not allowed to work in Italy. And so they're finding a lot of people who don't have a way to make money who are then coming into the country and living there. And the church that we'll be helping with has a lot of foreigners as well as Italians. But again, there's just very, very little hope into what it means to live in this country.
And another big problem that Italy just recently is going through and has gone through, as are we, is COVID. And so they were hit really hard at first. They went through 74 days of lockdown, and that was very different than the lockdown that we sort of went through. We've had a lot of conversations over Zoom or FaceTime or whatever with the other missionaries that are in Italy that will be joining. And they said that for 74 days, they were pretty much not really able to go outside. Maybe a couple times a week, one member of the family was able to go get groceries, do the things that they needed to do. If you had to walk your dog, you walked it. A lot of their buildings have like a courtyard or a little area outside, but you pretty much couldn't leave that. If you did leave, you had to have a permission slip sort of thing. I don't know exactly what it looked like, but
one of the pastors at the church that we will be going to said that he was the only one in his family that really left the house for about 2 months. He would go buy all the groceries and take the dog on the walk, but the wife and kids did not leave the house for about 2 months.
Yeah. And so during this time too, the people have not been able to attend mass. They haven't been able to go to confession. A lot of the things that they really find important and that are also associated with, salvation and other big issues. And so they really are lacking a lot of hope right now. And a lot of people have actually died and or have gotten really sick in Italy. And the pastor that's there in Italy that will be joining, he did say that you pretty much cannot find someone who doesn't directly know someone who either died or had a really bad run-in with COVID-19. And so they're really impacted by this. You can see at the bottom of this slide that this Emilia-Romagna region at the bottom, it's about the third hardest region hit in Italy. And it is definitely a lot less than Lombardy, which is up near Milan there, where all the big red circles are. But we're heading to Emilia-Romagna. That's where Forlì is. That's where cities like Bologna are, you might have heard of. And so, yeah.
Yeah, so we will be going to Forlì, Italy. It is in the Emilia-Romagna region. It's about an hour train ride from Bologna, about 2 hours from Venice. As you can see on the little map, it's the little red section. It's about 45 minutes from the mountains, about 45 minutes from the beach. It's a city of about 120,000 people, so it's about the size of Beaverton, Oregon. It also is the location of one of the campuses of the University of Bologna, which is one of the oldest universities in Europe, maybe the oldest, I don't remember. But
University of Bologna.
So it is very much a college town, even though it's a little bit bigger than Newburgh or where we're from George Fox. So it does have kind of that, the roots built into it of being a college town. They have a lot of people coming in and out, a lot of younger generation that will end up staying in the city and raising their families there. And that trip that we had gone on to do a missions trip was actually the next city over. So it's just another one of those things where we just truly feel that, God is calling us to this region. We've been there before and met the people, and we're excited to head back and for Team to suggest this city for us to join.
Yeah. So what our ministry is going to look like there is that we'll be doing a lot of support around the church. They have that church plant there, and so we'll be assisting in a lot of the basic needs that they have. They have a activity center in the basement of the church where they do English classes. Do you remember how many students they have? They have a pretty good number of students that are actually all the way from like grade school and to all the way up to adults. And so we will be taking over for the most part, if not, entirely, the English classes. Then we're also going to be helping at the kids' summer camps. That was actually what our short-term trip was. We helped at a summer camp. And so they do something really similar to that here. And we had a lot of fun doing that. And then one thing that our heart is really been guided towards is the high school and university students that are in town. This church already has an existing relationship with a lot of high school students because they help out at their summer camps. And so some of them are a little bit connected to the church, but mostly their only connection is the fact that they help out at the summer camps because they get school credit for it. And so we're hoping to build sort of a bigger relationship with them, do fun things, do English exchange type stuff. We hope to maybe audit some classes at the university, join some existing ministry that isn't actually through this church, but that we've been looking at, and then seeing whatever God can point us towards there.
Yeah, our hearts, I mean, we just really want to have an open home here. Italians are very much about relationships and just knowing people and knowing their hearts and knowing that you're going to be loyal to them. So, I mean, our hope is just to have a place where people can come and hang out and learn American games and how to make American hamburgers, and then, teach us Italian games and how to make lasagna. So our heart is just really wanting to build relationships with these people, and just being able to share the gospel and share Jesus, both how he's changed our lives and why we're feeling called to being there in their country and coming and explaining the difference between Catholicism and evangelism. But yeah, that's really what our hope is in going.
Yeah. And I don't remember if we mentioned it, but the timeline is we'll be there for 2 years. And so that's how long we're hoping to stay there for. How we're preparing now, we've actually done quite a few things since we first contacted Team a couple years ago. There were a lot of essays, meetings. It felt like a lot of school again, but we got through that and we got appointed with Team back in, was it November that we got appointed, or October?
Yeah.
About October, November. And then we went to an orientation in Kansas City for a week. That was our missionary orientation. We met a lot of other people that were in the same stage as us, that were preparing to go to their other countries, starting their partnership development, all of the same stuff as us. And that was actually really fun. And we stay connected with them. We have meetings with them every couple weeks, and another team staff members. We have mentor meetings. So we actually got appointed a mentor with Team, who, her name is Linda, and we love Linda. And she was a missionary in Italy for 30 years, actually. And so I believe in Bologna. And so she's been really helpful, not just because, she's helping us through this process, but because she has a lot of advice, because she did this for 30 years. And so we have another training in September. We're taking a lot of classes online for biblical studies. Right now we're going through one on the gospel. We have to read through a certain number of books, and we also are reading other ones like on Catholicism so that we can learn more. We got our TEFL, which is Teaching English as a Foreign Language certificates. So we're actually certified English teachers now, which helps build a lot of credibility for their program too, that we can say that. And it honestly also just helped us at being better English teachers, because we also taught English at Rolling Hills we did it for about 2 years before all this stuff happened, and we haven't had class for a little while now, but we really love doing that, and that was a lot of good experience. And yeah, we have a lot of other responsibilities that we're doing now.
Yeah, we've also been preparing this last year. We joined the young adults group launch through Rolling Hills, just to kind of see what it's like to start a program from the ground up. So we've been leaders in that group, and we've been meeting over Zoom for the past 3 months, playing Jackbox and doing fun things online. And then we also are community group leaders for some young married couples that attend Rolling Hills as well. So our timeline. So back in November, as Jack was saying, we attended the first missionary orientation, where we were given a lot of the tools on how to fundraise, how to create support partners. But actually, most of that time we really spent just in preparing our spiritual foundation, and spending a lot of time just, making sure that this truly is a calling that we're feeling, that Jack and I are both on the same page, that we're having those conversations with God along the way, and that when times are getting hard, he's the one that we're leaning on.
I will say that that's one thing I really have liked about Team, the agency, because they put a really big focus on that, this is a lot about your relationship with Christ. And, if that's not there, then, you're not in a good place to be teaching others about that. And so they put a really big focus on your own spiritual health and relationship with Christ. And we found that to be helpful to us. And it's just really nice to see that their focus is, shared with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a really nice talk recently where we just talked about God's image of the sparrows, right? Like he provides everything the sparrows need, but it truly is the sparrows that have to go out and find that food for them. So, that's just been something, especially during this time of COVID. And as we've been doing fundraising, that we've just been kind of, holding tight to, is that God's not going to bring everything and make it easy for us. But, it is there. The resources are there. The people are there. And, many of you are already support partners with us. And so we've seen that time and time again through every conversation we've had. So our goal this month is to hit 60% fundraised. We are getting pretty close to about halfway. And what that means is we can start preparing more of doing things like our day off, where we go spend an entire day alone with God. There's some more trainings and stuff online that we're going to be doing. And then in September, we'll attend pre-departure orientation, and we will fly to North Carolina for 5-day training and just get more resources, more things poured into us, understand more of how Team's going to support us while we're over there, and just really getting ready to leave. Our hope is to be about 90% by that time so that we can apply for visas. Mm-hmm. And then once we get hit 100% and our visas approved, we will be jumping on a plane and moving to Italy.
Yeah. So as we kind of said, a lot of you are already on our newsletter. You're praying, you're supporting us financially, and it's absolutely incredible. And we're so grateful for that. If you're not on our newsletter yet, you can be, and we'll tell you about that at the end. But we send out a lot of prayer requests there. It's a monthly update of what's on our heart, what we're preparing, what we're going through. And then we need people to help us share with others. If you have any friends, or especially churches or community groups that you're a part of, and you could connect us to someone there, or maybe your community group would love to hear about it, we would absolutely love to share with them. Any other churches that you have a connection to, we would love to be able to connect with their team and talk about what's on our heart. And then, we still are, McKenna said, about 50% there for our monthly support raised goals. And then we're actually doing pretty good on our one time, but we still have more to go there too. So what does it mean exactly to be one of our monthly support partners? That really helps us stay on the field. And the one-time fee helps us to get there, but the monthly support really helps us to stay there and do the work that, we feel called to. And so at the bottom right here, you can see a chart of our goal is to be at 60% by July. And we have support partners in all different categories. So we pretty much appreciate absolutely anything that God has called you to do. And if you're not supporting us, we would just ask that you would pray about it. Consider if you feel God is calling you to that. And if not, we do absolutely need prayer. If you just can't right now, we would love for you to be on our newsletter and just follow along, pray with us. We just love to share. And another thing is, if, especially because of COVID right now, you feel like you can't give, or you're not in a good place, at any point, if you would love to pledge something to us, we can just mark it down. That helps us. If you can say, I can give for the 2 years that you'll be gone, but I can't start yet, that's great. We always can mark it down. It'll count towards more of our goal, so that, when we get higher, we can apply for visas, get ready to go. And yeah, we appreciate all of that.
Yeah. If you are a monthly supporter, right now, all of that money that is being collected is going straight towards our one time. So we are filling our bucket through people giving now, as well as Jack said, keeping us in the field when we're over there.
Yeah. Did you put the link in the chat? Okay. So at the end, we'll put a direct link to giving actually in the chat. And then here's how you can follow us. You can join our e-newsletter by just texting Team Tillotson to the number 22828. It's really easy. You just text that to the number. There's maybe one more step where you type in your email or something, and then you're good to go. That'll send out a little welcome newsletter with a link to all our past newsletters. And then you'll be on a list to get future ones. All our newsletters also have links to our social media, like our Instagram and our Facebook groups where we post things, and when we're in Italy, we'll continue to give you updates. And also the newsletter itself has a link to our giving page. And any money that you give to us goes to Team itself. And so that way you get a tax deductible receipt, and we're not receiving the money directly, and it will be Team. And then when we're actually in Italy, Team gives us the money that you gave to us. And that's just for all the tax reasons and everything else.
Yeah. We're also on social media. If you follow us at Team Tillotson in Italy, if you follow our Instagram, we have Italian words that you can learn along with us as we learn Italian. And I always try to give like fun little stories along with the words of why I chose that one for that week, stories I remember from Italy, or that we experienced when we were there. So lots of fun updates. Feel free to post with us and interact with us and ask questions on there as well.
Yeah, you can become just as bad as us at Italian. So,
but we are learning it when we get there. We're learning.
Yeah, we're going through now learning Italian, and our first 2 months, maybe 3, I don't remember the exact amount, will be actually just spent learning Italian. So that'll be our first part. Thank you for showing up and listening to us. We really appreciate it. And yeah, we also are really thankful to be able to give you updates and just show you what God's doing in our lives, even now as we're preparing. I think it's been really beneficial to us, and we've absolutely grown a lot. So does anyone have any questions, anything we might have missed or that you're wondering?
Joe did ask in the chat, what other existing ministries outside the church were we talking about when we were talking about the university ministries? So there are quite a few. They have Italian names to them. They're not like American.
At the university?
Yeah.
I think there's just, wasn't there one that we know of?
I think there's a few.
There's a few at the university. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The church in Bologna has a pastor that has a pretty big church there that has been slowly going into the universities and setting up things kind of like Crew. They're a little bit different just because they are smaller and just starting up. So it would be kind of a new existing ministry that we would be getting involved with.
And another, like we had said, is we hope to, maybe not join an existing one. I mean, that is a hope, but also audit some classes, have a presence on campus, meet some students. They do a lot of flyers in
Mhm.
Italy. That's a big thing. Put them on billboards and stuff. So do English exchange classes. English is a really big thing for them. They do learn it in school, but a lot of people aren't very good at it because, you know, a lot of the teachers there either don't speak great English themselves, or it's just, you know, it can be pretty difficult to learn a language well just in school. And so it really helps them a lot in their life. And so
Mhm.
they have a really big drive often to learn. When we were there on our trip, I would say way more people than I realized didn't actually speak very much English when we were in Rimini.
Especially in this area,
Yeah.
just because it's not like a tourist kind
It's
of
not a
town.
huge tourist area. A lot of adults, a lot of kids just didn't really speak much English. So
One of the other existing ministries is, it's a group that has taken the structure of Alpha and has turned it more into how to go from Catholicism to evangelism. And so that's another thing that they've been doing on the universities of, you know, having these places where people can come and like learn about John and like, what does it mean? Like to look at it from an evangelical point of view and like come and ask hard questions. Let's get to the bottom of like what you believe and what we believe and how those differ and how we can have those conversations to kind of get you over the hump as well. I saw one question come through. Living accommodations. So we are still in the process of kind of figuring that out. The main pastor that we will be going over and joining is actually taking a year off about the time that we are getting there. And so he has offered to possibly let us use his house while we live there, which would be a great opportunity for us. It is a little bit farther out in the country, which means I have to learn stick shift, but you know, Joe, I might need to borrow your car just to try. So that's an opportunity. The other possibility would be living in a fully furnished apartment more in the city, closer to campus, and you know, taking the bus and stuff more on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, because we probably wouldn't need a car if we lived in the city. We could get around pretty much everywhere just fine. But yeah, if we lived in the country, that'd be a little different. So
yeah. Any other questions? You feel free to unmute yourself if you have one.
I don't have a question. I was just going to comment on what you just said, is that when you're in the city, then you're going to have a better opportunity for like you said, since you want to open up your home and be more engaging with the kids and the people there, because many of those people could not come out probably to where the house is. So,
yeah,
but, you know, God's going to put you where he wants you, but that would be the benefit of staying right locally in the area.
Yeah, for sure. That was our thought as well. And we've been going back and forth kind of with the pastor about what's best financially and for kind of what we're wanting our ministry to be there.
yeah, it would be if we did it for just about the first year, less than the first year, but yes.
Good. Yeah. It's a great opportunity that they offered that to you though. That's
yeah.
Any other questions?
How is it going to be right, like with your goal getting over there? Are they pretty open for people coming now with the COVID and everything, or are there still some really strict restrictions for you? You know.
Yeah, Italy as a whole has opened their borders back up to tourists. I know the EU has been having bigger conversations of possibly not letting foreigners come, but as of right now, Italy is open, and that's one reason that the pastor over there is wanting us to come, you know, as early as possible, as soon as we get 100%, after we go to pre-departure orientation, of course. But you know, he's really wanting us to get over there because there is this fear of things shutting back down once fall hits and, you know, COVID might start spreading again. And there's possibility that we wouldn't get flights or the border would be closed. But one thing that when we were talking to him recently, he was saying like because there's so little hope for Italians right now, and there's so much fear of just like leaving your house and going out in public and meeting with your community, people are feeling really isolated. But one thing that the church has been really encouraged by is hearing that we're coming over, because they're like, people are still want to come to Italy. They care about Italy. Like it hasn't really felt like that to them. And so it's really surprising to them to see that, there's people still wanting to come and experience their culture. About 90% of the Italian economy is built on hospitality and tourism. And so they are hurting pretty bad right now, especially with outside people having fear of coming there just because things have been so bad and their medical system isn't as great. So if something did happen while you were on vacation, you're not sure if the hospitals will be able to, take care of you while you're there.
It was encouraging to hear though from the pastor that they're really excited for us to come over. Not just him and the other missionary couple, but the people of their church. So that was fun to hear.
All right. Any last questions?
Yeah. When do you, Joe and Heidi, when do you plan on going over to visit them?
We would love to go next year. So that's our hope.
They got to get there first. Then we'll
Before you make your plans.
Yep.
So what is the minimum percentage of support before they allow you to go?
We have to be, is it 100?
It's 100% pledged.
Yeah.
So we have to be at 90% before we can apply for a visa. And Italian visas can take a while just because of the systems that are in place in the government, and getting a missionary visa, especially with such prominent church in Catholic country, sometimes they don't fully understand why missionaries are coming in.
It just depends on how long it takes.
Yeah. So it'll depend on that. And then, we'll just need to be at 100% pledged.
Have you heard anything? The news, you can't always believe it or not, you can't always take the news at face value. And so when we hear about the possibility that the EU might not allow Americans to come as tourists, is it possible that as a visa holder first, you're not going on a tourist visa? I wonder if your application process would not put you in the same category as people just wanting to come as tourists. Do you know anything about that?
It's very possible. I mean, the Italian people the Italian government want people to come in who will spend their outside money. Like they don't want people to come in and take jobs from Italians just because unemployment is so bad there right now. But if you're coming in on like entrepreneurship visa, or I would assume missionary visa, because we're being paid outside of that country, that they would see that as a benefit because money is coming from outside places and pouring into their economy.
Part of our cost is actually Italian taxes, right? We have to pay Italian taxes. And so they have a lot of reason, to want us to be there, but more or less, we don't know for sure, if we'll have issues or not.
Team seems to not be as worried about it.
From what we've heard from Team, everyone, is just keep moving forward. Right now, it's okay. Yeah, we'll just have to see.
Okay.
Do you need to raise your, when you have to pay for your visa, does that come out of your monthly support you're getting, or is that above your monthly support? How much, do you know how much it is to get your visa individually, each one of you? How much you have to pay for that?
That's included in our one-time fee.
Okay.
That we're raising before. So it's not necessarily, when I say one-time fee, that just includes, plane tickets, trainings, things like getting a visa.
Yeah. First month's rent.
First month Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to have
a
your
bunch of stuff.
first month's rent. So we need like a one paycheck before we get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that.
Okay.
Any other questions? And before we wrap things up, if you've got questions, remember you got to unmute yourself.
You can always call or text Jack or I as well, and we can answer
Mhm.
questions or meet with you one-on-one.
Yeah, our numbers.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
put our numbers in the chat along
Yeah.
the side. They're also in our newsletter and social media and a bunch of other places.
Yes, you can reach us in a lot of different ways. Whatever.
I'll make sure to put the info, the contact, at least the email. I'll put that on our Facebook outreach page connected to this. That way, if people got questions, I won't put your cell phone numbers on that, but I think the email will be useful for people that do have questions.
Perfect.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you guys for all coming and just listening and just encouraging all of us in this process. You know, encouraging Jack and McKenna as they keep pushing forward. And I just want to close us in prayer, and then you guys can kind of go home from church, aka from our computers. Lord, we just are grateful for this day that you've given us. We're grateful for this time and the technology to gather together and to hear about what you're doing in Jack McKenna's life and what you're allowing us as friends and family to them to come alongside and, you know, care for them, pray for them, support them. Lord, we do pray that you'll continue to provide for them as they are getting closer to meeting these certain goals. We do pray that you'll keep the door open for them to get there. Lord, we just recognize that in order for this to happen, this has got to be your doing and your work. And so we lift this up to you, and we ultimately, we just trust all of this to you. God, we love you. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All righty. I hope you guys have a good Sunday afternoon. I won't end the meeting immediately, so that way, if anyone's trying to copy the contact info, but I'll probably end the meeting in like 2 minutes. So
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
We
thank you.
appreciate it.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
We'll have
Bye.
to do Chinese food pretty soon.
I know. Are they open yet?
Yeah, we've been doing takeout, but we haven't been there to sit inside. So I don't know if they're open inside. Craig would know. He knows.